Picture this. The year is 1260. Vast plains stretch beyond the horizon, deserts crack under the sun, and cities tremble at the approaching thunder of hooves. The Mongols are coming, and when they arrive, they don't just take lands, they reshape the world. You might think of Genghis Khan and his grandsons as ruthless conquerors, burning cities and leaving destruction in their wake. But there's a side of the story most people never see, a side where money, trade, and commerce become the deadliest weapons of all. Kublai Khan, Genghis's grandson, had a vision. He didn't just want an empire of conquered lands, he wanted an empire running like a well-oiled machine, where silk, spices, gold, and information flowed freely across continents. Roads were rebuilt, trade networks secured, and relay stations stretched across mountains and deserts. Merchants could travel hundreds of miles without fear of bandits. Then came the boldest move of all: paper money. Currency not backed by gold or silver, but by sheer authority and trust. A single note could represent a fortune, and yet a single misstep could bring the empire to its knees. This is the story of how the Mongols turned finance into power, how they built one of the first globalized economies, and how the very thing that gave them wealth would one day threaten to destroy it. Before Kublai Khan, Asia's trade routes were deadly. Traveling merchants faced bandits, warring kingdoms, and crippling taxes. Most never made it to their destination. Moving silk, spices, or gold was slow, expensive, and dangerous, a nightmare for commerce. Kublai understood that conquest alone wasn't enough. To truly control his empire, he needed to connect it, economically and logistically. Enter the Pax Mongolica, a period of enforced peace across the Mongol lands. Roads were repaired, bridges reinforced, and mountains crossed with new relay stations. Travelers and merchants could move safely across vast distances, and goods flowed with unprecedented speed. The Yam system, a network of post stations, allowed riders to travel hundreds of miles in a single day. Fresh horses, food, and shelter awaited at every stop. Messages, troops, and economic data moved faster than anyone thought possible. Traders could journey from China to Persia without fear, and taxation was simplified to encourage commerce rather than suppress it. Markets thrived, cities grew, and wealth circulated like never before. The Mongols didn't just conquer land, they revolutionized trade. By removing barriers, standardizing weights and measures, and protecting merchants, Kublai laid the foundation for one of history's first quasi-global economies. For the first time, commerce became a tool of empire, a way to unify vast territories without constant war. And yet, the very system that enabled prosperity would later create a new challenge. The empire's economy began to outgrow its physical currency, setting the stage for Kublai Khan's boldest financial experiment: paper money. Kublai Khan wasn't just a conqueror, he was a master strategist. He understood that controlling an empire spanning thousands of miles required brains as well as brawn. Armies alone couldn't manage cities, trade networks, or taxation. He needed skilled minds. The Mongols practiced a system of talent relocation. Experts were identified, valued, and moved across the empire like chess pieces. Persian administrators reformed chaotic tax systems in China. Chinese engineers built roads, canals, and siege engines in distant lands. Artisans, weavers, and scholars spread their skills far beyond their homelands. This forced cross-pollination of knowledge created economic and technological booms. Gunpowder, astronomical techniques, silk production methods, and engineering expertise moved across continents in ways never seen before. Trade accelerated, cities flourished, and the Mongol economy thrived. The Mongols understood a profound truth: commerce can conquer as effectively as war. By placing the right people in the right positions, Kublai ensured that expertise was maximized and resources flowed efficiently. It wasn't just wealth creation, it was empire building at a new level. The combination of military power, financial strategy, and human capital allowed the Mongols to create an economic network that spanned Asia, one that merchants and rulers had never imagined possible. This set the stage for Kublai's next bold innovation, a currency system that could match the speed and scale of his empire. A system that would forever change how humans thought about money. As trade expanded, Kublai faced a dilemma. The empire had outgrown its metal currency. Hauling tons of copper and silver was cumbersome, expensive, and insufficient for the booming economy. Kublai's solution, paper money, called chow. Unlike coins, these notes weren't backed by gold or silver. Their value came from trust in the authority of the Khan, sealed with a bright red imperial stamp. Counterfeit a note, and death awaited. Merchants could now carry fortunes in their pockets. The government could pay soldiers, fund projects, and manage resources without relying on heavy metal coins. Trade accelerated, markets expanded. Soldiers and bureaucrats were paid promptly. This was the first true fiat currency in history. Money that existed purely because the state declared it valuable. The economy thrived as the Mongol Empire unified vast regions under one financial system. Yet paper money carried risk. Overprinting could spark inflation, eroding trust. Mismanagement could destabilize the entire economy. Kublai's gamble was bold. He was placing the empire's wealth and stability into a system based entirely on confidence and authority. In doing so, Kublai transformed money into a weapon, not one forged from steel, but from ideas and trust, capable of connecting an empire and fueling one of history's first globalized economies. Kublai's paper currency worked beautifully at first, but rapid expansion created new problems. As armies marched, fleets sailed, and massive infrastructure projects were built, the empire's expenses skyrocketed. Printing more chow seemed like the easy solution. But every additional note devalued the previous ones. Inflation crept into markets. Prices for rice, silk, and everyday goods surged. Merchants hoarded silver and tangible assets, further destabilizing the economy. Kublai faced a delicate balance. Too little currency, trade stalls. Too much, the empire collapses. Military campaigns, palace construction, and the lavish bureaucracy drained resources, forcing continuous overprinting. Despite warnings, the Khan pressed forward. The Mongol administration had discovered a terrifying truth. Money could be created almost infinitely, but value could not. Even as the Yuan Dynasty appeared unstoppable, cracks were forming. Trust, the backbone of fiat currency, began to waver. The very system that enabled rapid commerce was sowing the seeds of economic instability. Kublai Khan's ambition knew no bounds. He turned his gaze to Japan, Indonesia, and Vietnam, ordering massive fleets and armies. The cost was astronomical. Wood, iron, grain, labor, and soldiers' pay. Every fleet was financed with paper money, expanding the currency supply at unprecedented rates. When storms, the divine winds of Japan, destroyed fleets, the economic consequences were severe. The resources were gone, yet the chow notes remained in circulation. This created classic demand pull inflation, too much money chasing too few goods. Prices soared, trust declined, and corruption flourished. Officials manipulated currency for personal gain. Merchants refused notes. The yuan economy, once vibrant, teetered on collapse. Kublai's empire had conquered lands, people, and trade, but the unchecked power of fiat currency now threatened the foundation of his rule. Wealth had become fragile and fleeting, a reminder that even the most powerful empire could stumble when money was mismanaged. By Kublai's death in 1294, the Yuan dynasty's economic miracle had begun to unravel. Overprinted money, inflated prices, and a restless bureaucracy weakened the empire from within. Natural disasters and disease compounded the problem. The Black Death spread along the very trade routes the Mongols had built. Populations declined, agriculture faltered, and the tax base shrank. The once mighty empire faced rebellion. The Red Turban Rebellion rose, overthrowing the Yuan dynasty by 1368. Paper money lost all credibility. The Ming Dynasty returned to silver and bronze coins, abandoning the Mongol experiment. The Mongol story offers a chilling lesson. Empires can rise on conquest and innovation, but financial mismanagement can bring even the mightiest to ruin. Kublai Khan showed the world the power of trade, talent, and money, but also the dangers of overextension and reliance on trust alone. From horsemen to fiat currency, the Mongols didn't just conquer with swords, they reshaped economics, trade, and finance forever. And yet even the greatest innovations must respect the limits of reality.